Cartagena. What an incredible city. Now, this view of Cartagena will not be the usual review. I will just give you a different kind of perspective on what you can expect if you go there. Now, I didn't plan back then on posting any of the content that you're seeing here. If I knew at the time that I would be having a YouTube channel, I would have filmed a whole lot more of where I've been. And by the way, you would help me out a lot if you would subscribe to the channel and help me reach 1,000 subscribers. I can then bring you a whole lot more of the content that you like. Now, my journey to Cartagena started in the Isla of Baru. I will get to this place in another video. On our way into the walled city, and about 100 meters away from it, we drove past a homicide scene. This is how the local Cartagena looks like. Something you will never hear of within the touristic-friendly walled city. I will come back to what you can expect in the areas outside the walled city later in this video. Now I know that most travelers to Colombia are between Medellin and Cartagena, and I lived in both cities for an extended period of time, so I'll focus on why you should go to Cartagena. The nightlife, first of all, is top. It has the kind of vibes that you might get in Las Vegas or South Beach, Miami, as most people you will see within the walled city are tourists who are there to have some fun. And the walled city in Gethsemane, which is right next to it, has plenty to offer for those purposes. The weather can be extremely hot, all the way to 40 degrees. It might not be the best city for long walks if that is what you are planning, unless you're okay with high temperatures. One thing I loved about this city was the dress code that people are wearing within the walled city. It brings you back in time, and if you decide to follow that trend, you will more likely stand out as a tourist and people will know that you're not from there. Me, I do like to fit into the places I go to experience life as a local. And at the beginning I dressed like the locals, but then shortly before I left, I could not resist any longer and I pulled off the full hat and white pants and white shirt look that you will see most tourists are wearing. The tourist ladies mostly wear summer dresses. You will have a completely different experience if you dress like a local or like a tourist. I was approached a whole lot more by the locals with the services they're offering once they saw me in the typical touristic outfit. And it did make me feel like an outsider quite quickly. But you just don't often get the opportunity to dress up like that. Now to something else. And this is something that I kind of experienced in Medellin as well, but it was nowhere as close to how it was in Cartagena. Once the locals know that you are from a Western country, many of them will assume that you are only there for the goods or cheap narcotics. And that's because most single guys from Western countries are there for those exact purposes. So if you do not belong to that group, just be aware that that assumption will linger above your head. Now let's talk safety. You need to understand that most crime is not being reported in any outlets or Google News that you might be looking at. Unless you do not see it with your own eyes, you will never know that it happened. You are quite safe within the walled city, but outside the walled city, that is a whole other world. My second accommodation in the city was in Marbella, which is on the opposite side of the walled city, but just right next to it. On my first day coming out of the shower, I heard the man scream for help. He sounded like an American. I looked out the window and saw him screaming for help, screaming, "What is going on? Someone help me." He seemed to try to step away from a man on a motorbike, but after repeated screams for help, he then got onto that bike and the two took off. There's a lot of poverty outside the walled city, and I do not recommend you going on an excursion tour unless you know exactly what you are doing. If it comes to safety, stay within the walled city. Inside the walled city, because there are many tourists who were drugged and robbed, the police are now actively searching through the handbags of the females, looking for anything they could be using to harm the tourists. The heavy police presence in the walled city does make you feel safe. Now let's talk about one of the things that makes Cartagena so great, and that is the beaches. First of all, let me tell you that the water is warm. That means it is not freezing cold like so many other places that you might have been going to. Like especially the California coast is just freezingly cold. But in the beaches of Cartagena, the water is warm. It's like body temperature. On Boca Grande, which is the more famous beach in the area, it's also the place where you see the high rises in the area. This is where you will get approached wherever you go. This is something I hear a lot of people complain about, and it is up to you on how you deal with that. Just be aware that many of the locals who are offering you their services have nothing else to live from. This is their only source of income. So when you decide to give them something equivalent to $2, that can mean food for a day for them and maybe even for their family members. The beaches in Marbella are a lot calmer if that is what you're looking for. Alright guys, let me know in the comment section if you found it useful. I can cover many different topics on it. Alright, see you soon.